I'd like to start by introducing Wilson Tam and Bridget Wu. So Wilson, besides being a pioneer in the realm of ALSET, is an epidemiologist and statistician by training and focuses on risk factors of cardiovascular diseases. He is also a case study of how you can use domain expertise in the domain of learning. So he's been working with Bridget on an evaluation project that's sort of the pilot example of how to do evaluation work with the ALSET Data Lake. And Bridget, whose interests center around the role and utilization of professional development in advanced practice in nursing, also has done large-scale surveys across Singapore. And so the two of them came to me back in the day and said, we have heard about the ALSET Data Lake and we've been wanting to do an evaluation project, and can we make this happen? And I sat down with them and we figured out how we could, given the infrastructure and the policies and the processes that had been developed, make it happen. And this is as much joy for me to hear about as I think it is for Wilson and Bridget to share about, and hopefully for you to hear about, because it shows that using the ALSET Data Lake can get you to a research output. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Bridget and Wilson.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Alex and Kevin, for inviting us on this platform to share how we used the ALSET Educational Data Lake. So like what Kevin said, today we'll just be sharing with you quite briefly a study that, came up actually as a follow-up study to an original study that we had. So you will realize a bit more about it as I share. So the title of our talk today is Factors Associated with Academic Performance Among Masters of Nursing Students. So it was an exploratory study using the ALSET Educational Data Lake. So first to introduce, in Singapore, nurses, specifically registered nurses, they make up the largest professional workforce in the healthcare. Therefore, with aging population and increasing healthcare demands, optimizing nurses' contributions to healthcare is pivotal to achieve global health coverage for an aging population. And as the years have gone by, nursing has developed professionally, and with that, through formal education and training, we have developed advanced practice roles. So with greater professional development through formal education, this has led to the emergence of advanced practice nursing roles such as the APN. So at present, we have 267 APNs registered with the Singapore Nursing Board. So who are APNs? APNs are essentially registered nurses who practice beyond the RN scope of practice. So their license allows them to do much more than what a normal registered nurse can do. And it was first introduced in 2003. And quite fortunately in Singapore, the APN title is legally restricted to APNs who have completed the Masters of Nursing program provided by NUS. So the legal restriction titling of APNs may not happen in other countries, but we are very fortunate that legally in Singapore, the APN title only reserves to RNs who have completed the academic preparation provided by NUS. So how does one become an APN? First, they have to enroll into the MN program. And to enroll into the MN program, they have to first be a registered nurse with the Singapore Nursing Board, and also clock a minimum number of clinical experience in a healthcare setting, either locally or overseas. So, but most importantly, to even enroll into the MN program, they need to receive endorsement from their respective healthcare institutions' nursing leader. So as you can see with that, nursing leaders play a very significant role in the selection of RNs for the MN program. So this is a work that we did in early 2019. We were looking to explore registered nurses' perceptions towards advanced practice nursing. Essentially, it's because we want to Essentially, it's because sustainability and expansion of the APN workforce is dependent on the consistent recruitment and also development of RNs. And therefore, we wanted to see how RNs perceive the role of APNs and also their interest in becoming APNs themselves. But interestingly, in this study, in this nationwide cross-sectional study that we conducted, we realized that only less than approximately 30% of them expressed interest in becoming APNs, and that is quite worrying. So we asked them, we asked them for their interest in becoming APNs, and also asked them whether or not they have been identified as potential APNs. And you can see that about 30.7% of them hope to be APNs. But out of this 30.7%, only 5.9% of them were identified as potential APN candidates. And as you can see, there is 9.6% of the RNs who hope to become APNs, but they were unfortunate, that did not want to be APNs, but they were ultimately selected to become APN candidates. So according to our study, we realized that nursing leaders tend to select RNs that are more senior in age, work experience, and job title. But the RNs who show interest, the characteristics of RNs who show interest in the role generally are the ones younger and with less than 5 years of working experience. But understandably so, the characteristics of the RNs the nursing leaders identified as suitable candidates were consistent with the MN program's admission criteria. So, but then when we look into literature and compare clinical experience versus academic performance, we realize that there is weak or no association between RN's academic success in nursing graduate school and the amount of work experience they had. Instead, RN's undergraduate GPA have a strong predictive value for academic success in nursing graduate studies. So why are we emphasizing on the need for academic success? Because ultimately, to get an APN license and to successfully become an APN, the RN has to complete the MN program, and not only that, have to get good academic grades during the MN program. So this has led us to this research question. Does clinical experience, is there association between clinical experience and academic success? Therefore, our study aim was to explore the factors associated with better academic performance in the MN program. So we hypothesized that age has a negative association with academic performance. So in other words, we were postulating that younger graduate students will have better grades and higher CAP scores than older graduate students. So we included, included in this study are those enrolled into the MN program from 2010 to 2017, and we excluded the data of the students that were enrolled before 2010 or after 2018, because the data set was not complete. And we also, of course, excluded students who did not complete the program. So I'll hand over the time to Dr. Wilson, who will expound further on the data and data analysis.
Okay, thank you for joining us during the recess week. Okay, so we are trying to share what we have done in the data lake. Okay, first of all, Bridget have introduced how we come up with those research questions. Okay, but actually we come up with that research question in around the Chinese New Year in 2019. Okay, so around 2 years ago. Okay, after we have the research question, actually we try to explore whether we can do something among our data within our department, but basically it would be quite difficult because due to those privacy issue or IRB requirement. So it would be difficult for us to continue. Okay, so after we just leave it aside, and then until last year around August, we attend a seminar similar to this one, but in face-to-face basis, conducted by Alex and Kelvin. Okay, so during the seminar, they mentioned about the data lake. Okay, then after the seminar, so we contact Kelvin to see whether we can do something based on our original research question. And Kelvin go through with us what data are available in the data lake, and then we found that it may be possible to do something based on the data lake. Okay, so now I am trying to go through the process that we try to identify the variables and how we make use of the variable to do the data analysis to come up with the manuscript we have now. Okay, so in terms of the data, okay, basically we are trying to identify some useful data from the data lake related to our MN student. So it may be some demographic information, module information, grade information, and then the entry information. That means those information when they apply for the MN program. Okay, for this part, I don't think it is very difficult because if you have the research question, you would be able to identify the variables you need. Okay, so in this case, I think this one is quite easy. Okay, if you have the research question in mind. Okay, so the second part is the data management. Okay, this part actually is more difficult. Okay, because within the data lake, okay, you need to actually to connect to a remote desktop and then do all the data management as well as data analysis in the setting. Okay, so basically you cannot download the file into your own computer. Okay, and then to do the data analysis in your own computer. Okay, so it may be one of the barriers that people may not be willing to try to use data lake. However, I can tell you, actually, it is not that difficult. Okay, given with the help of Kelvin or the in-house statistician, okay, you would be able to manage to merge the data and then to conduct the data analysis. But of course, I would say this part is still a little bit difficult. Okay, if you haven't tried to use any remote desktop thing before. Okay, and then the last part, of course, after you can get the variable from different database or tables, then you do the data analysis. This part is easy because no matter any research project, okay, you need to do some data analysis, so may involve some descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, and then regression. Okay, in the next slide, what I am trying to do, just to let you to have an idea, what kind of data or data table in the data lake. It is not a comprehensive list, but this 5 tables were the tables that are used for the this project. Okay, so the first one may be the table for the program. So it contains the information of different program. For example, our MN program, our undergraduate learning program. Okay, so if you have the program code, then basically you can extract the information for the student. Okay, so it can be you can be able to extract the student token. That is the pseudo code for the student ID. So actually we don't know who they are. They just given a 16-digit code for the student. Okay, so based on the program table, we would be able to extract all the students study the MN program. Okay, and then based on the student token, we can go into other tables or other databases, okay, to extract the information. For example, the entry table, we may be able to know before they admit to NUS, where they study, what kind of qualification they have, what are their A-level results, and so on. In the module table, which module they took during their stay in NUS, okay, including the module code, the term, and then the grade point. Okay, in the grade history table, okay, there would be some cumulative CAP score for the student. Okay, so all this kind of information can be linked by the student token. So once you have your research question, you know the module, the program code, then basically you can extract all the information of the student when they are in when they were in NUS now. Okay, now the concept is very simple, but in the next slide you may be able to see the most difficult part that I would say is this one. Okay, when you want to use the data, then basically you need to log into their they call it the notebook Jupyter notebook. Okay, so actually it is a remote desktop Okay, and you need to type in this kind of things. Okay, so I use R. So these are the codes for the R. Okay, so if it is the first time you go to this panel, actually I also don't know what to do. So the first 3 or 4 command, actually I asked Kelvin, and then Kelvin sent it to me. Let me to start with. Okay, so yes, it is for most of us, it would be quite difficult. But okay, if you are not familiar with this one, actually you can ask Kelvin, or there is a in-house statistician in their unit, Dr. Tan. Okay, they can actually help you to formulate these kind of things. Okay, so the first step, I think the most important is you generate research question and then explore the data lake, and then to find out how to do this kind of technical issue. Okay, which can be solved, okay, with the help of them. Okay, but for me, because I want to try myself, so I spent actually a few weeks to play around the data lake before I can actually conduct the analysis. But it is quite good if you do it by yourself. Okay, in the next slide, I just show one of the example that you can see. Now, for this one, it is just an example. One of the analysis that I conduct for one of the module called Advanced Health Assessment. Okay, so you can see actually if you divide the code that I write, okay, you can divide into a few parts. The first few statement basically is to read and merge those tables to get a usable data format that I can do for data analysis. So the first 5 or 6 statement basically is to call the table and then merge them together. And then for the next few statement, basically I just try to, for example, to remove some of the subjects which is not eligible to our inclusion criteria, for example, the year of study and so on. And then I try to regroup something. Okay, now, so but for this one, for regrouping, now why I want to do it by myself? Because if I do it by myself, or whenever I want to do some regrouping or select different variable to do or to use in the data analysis, I don't need to contact anyone. I can do it by myself. Okay. However, if you want to seek their help, okay, it may need to have a lot of email communication, or you need to go to their office to seek their help. Okay, so it would be quite good if you can handle this kind of coding. But if you cannot, you can still be able to conduct the same thing with the help of them. Okay, and then the last part basically is just some simple data analysis, including the regression and so on. So you can see if I want to examine the score, those factors related to associated with the CAP score of this module, actually it can be done within around 20 lines. Okay, so actually it is not that difficult if you are familiar with the coding. Okay, but I just try to skip the technical part. So if you have interest, actually it can be used, it can be learned quite fast by looking at those R menu. Okay, so in the next slide. Okay, now so there are some practical considerations that I found out after I used the data lake. What kind of data in data lake? Basically, it provides very comprehensive data of NUS students, but of course are anonymous, so you don't know their identity. Okay, where you can use it, basically you need to do a remote desktop, okay, to connect to the data lake, and then based on the remote desktop to access the data in their server. Okay, what kind of language or how you can use it? You need to use R, a programming language, Starter, or another Python, other programming language. Okay, so basically, if I remember correctly, that these 3 types of language are available in the data lake that you can use. Okay, and then when you conduct, when you are able to conduct the analysis or merging the file actually anytime. Whenever you can get the internet access, then you can connect to the data lake and then to do all these kind of things. Okay, but why we recommend to use the data lake? Basically, it provides a large number of data, a large number of variables, and then it is free of charge. At least up to now, free of charge. Later on, I don't know. Okay, so if you want to generate some research idea or some pilot testing of your research idea, actually it is a very good environment for you to start with. Okay, so here are just something related to the data management and data analysis that I experienced before. Okay, so we go back to the project then, or we conduct some statistical analysis, or for continuous variable, we use the mean standard deviation to summarize the result, and categorical variable frequency percentage, very standard. And then actually we did some, we conduct some t-test and over. Okay, and then identify some potential associated factor, and then we conduct a regression analysis. Okay, after that, then we get the result from the data lake. Okay, so I pass it back to Bridget to share our result for this project.
So here comes the interesting part where we enjoy the fruits of data lake. So as you can see from our data lake, from what we found from data lake is there's 210,000 plus student data in the data lake for us to use. And then out of these group of students, we have 388 that were ever enrolled in the MN program. But remember our inclusion and exclusion criteria. So ultimately, we ended up with 246 students' data to work with. So with this, we got the information about some student characteristics. You can see that the age at enrollment, we had a mean age of 34, of course, mostly female, and then marital status, we can get information like the ethnicity and also their cumulative CAP score. As you can see, it's not too bad. Their mean cumulative CAP score is 4 and it ranged from 3 to 4.75. So we did regression analysis for the factors associated with the cumulative CAP score using R, and can see that age seems to be the one that has a significant association with cumulative CAP score. And as you can see, when we run it through all the individual modules, because just now the result was for the cumulative CAP score, but now when we run it through all the modules that the MN students had to take during their course, we realized that age seems to be something, a factor that is negatively associated with their performance. When I say negatively associated, it means that the younger they are, the better they do in that module. And then there might be this postulation or hypothesis whereby, maybe younger students may do well in theoretical modules and in theory, but not in clinical modules. But when we look at the more clinical modules like clinical practicum and approaches to clinical signs and symptoms, advanced health assessment, these sorts of more clinical sort of modules, actually younger students still tend to do better than the older ones. So then revisiting our hypothesis about age, where age has a negative association with academic performance, this hypothesis is accepted. So we indeed find from these 246 students who have completed the MN program since 2010, we realized that younger graduate students will tend to have better grades and higher CAP scores than older graduate students. So what are the study implications? So at present, as mentioned, to be enrolled in this MN program, the RN needs to have at least 5 years of relevant work experience. But now considering that younger MN students have a higher likelihood of academic success in the MN program, it may be propitious to review the current enrollment criteria. So this short presentation that we've given this afternoon is an example of the potential of an ALSET Data Lake, the usage of ALSET Data Lake. It allows us, provides rich data for answering educational research questions. As mentioned just now, you can see the number of students that we have in the data lake is 210,000 plus of them. So it allows independent research projects to be done. It also allows preliminary data analysis for applying applying funding to a larger project in the future. So for instance, you can conduct interrupt time series analysis of the teaching efficacy before and after circuit breaker. You know, you do not need to conduct a big RCT to do it anymore. You can use such retrospective data available in the data lake. So with that, thank you for your attention. We're happy to hand the time back to Kevin.
Thank you. Let's see. I kind of want to frame a little bit more about the ALSET Data Lake after this, and then we'll go back and do questions over the whole thing. That sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is going to be scary. Share. Okay. Guess not. So I can talk about it. So we've talked a lot about the ALSET Data Lake, and you both Wilson and Bridget did an excellent job showcasing the extent and the magnitude of the number of students that are in there, and then how you can keep filtering that down to answer a specific question. And so you can go from 210,000 students, I think now we're at like 230,000 students, all the way down to the 300 that you really want to know more about. In the coming year, and I've been thinking about this one in terms of Bridget and Wilson's work as well. And I guess at that, let's see, I'll jump back and ask the question first. You do all of your analyses at course level or at module level. What would it look like if you were able to drill down into individual activities or individual components of a module? Would you expect that you would have the same sort of age differences across everything in a module, or is it specific points within a module that are creating that difference?
Okay, so I try to answer it, but it would be difficult to know because for the assessment for each module would be quite different, especially in the nursing module. Okay, so they may have some practicum, they may have some assignment or examination. Okay, so if we want to look into details for different kind of assessment, it is possible, but it may be, we may need to have a large effort to do it. Okay, but yes, in general, to your question, yes, we can try to explore.
See. That makes sense. So is it, so of the modules, how many have final exams, like sit down final exams?
If I remember correctly, more than half of them have the final examination. Yeah, but I cannot remember clearly. Yeah, for those practicum, actually they also have some practical examination or OSCE and so on. Okay, so yeah, it may not be a written paper, but they need to perform some tasks, okay, to so they know the technical skill or clinical skill. Okay, so yes, if you ask me, I guess most of the module have an examination. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I apologize for being unable to share my screen at this point. I swapped laptops yesterday, and so I'm still struggling with the migration. That's my personal journey. So I'd like to say in the coming year, we should have IMS data or IMMS data. So we'd have the CA components for each of the different modules. We'll also have like a Luminous tie-in as well, so we can get the audit logs from that. And so you can look at things deeper dive once you've got a powerful difference at the age level. And so you could keep doing sub-analyses and still have your same statistical power. And then I want to touch on the second thing that Wilson brought up, is the difficulty in using it within the environment. And we've been listening to feedback for a long time now about how the notebook, it doesn't suit everybody. And thank you for showing the example of what the notebook entails, so that it's not too scary, but it's not exactly welcoming. And thank you for saying that at least us at ALSET try to make it a little bit more welcoming with email exchanges and sit downs and things, because we do pride ourselves on that. Going forward, it looks like come next year, there'll be a cave environment in which people can use their own custom tools within a still secure environment. So you can use, if Excel is your flavor, go for it. If SPSS is what you're familiar with, then go for it. And it has a scalability built into it, so that we can keep adding servers and adding different applications depending on what researchers need. And so that's the synergy between NUS IT and ALSET at this point. Looks like it's going to accelerate the different ways that people can access data, and the amount of data and the different kinds of data that are going to be coming into the ALSET Data Lake. And so with that, I want to make one more plug for the ALSET Data Lake, and LACE is an ethics review requirement to get into the ALSET Data Lake. Is an alternative to going through NUS IRB and its exempted application process. And so you can apply through LACE directly and get feedback within 2 or 3 days and get approval, hopefully faster than you would through NUS IRB. Okay, and with that, I'd like to turn questions over to anybody that has them at this point. Let's see.
Richard, do you want to answer Robert question? You mute yourself. Hello, Bridget. Yeah.
I answered via the chat. So I found this +1 paper talking about age. Age is often associated with declining cognitive abilities to learn new things. So it might be an interesting read, like for Robert, yeah, or anyone interested. Yeah. So age does seem to have a strong association with the ability to learn new skills and to the ability to retain new knowledge. With regards to Cheng Li's question about other factors besides age, yes, we did. We ran through actually most, if not all, the demographic data that we have extracted from Data Lake, and age seems to be the one with the strongest association. Yeah. Am I right, Dr. Wilson? Right.
Yes, but I just add on, okay, for Robert's question. Okay, another possibility is that because NUS is the first university to run the undergraduate nursing program, so it started maybe 10 to 15 years ago. Okay, and hence those younger students, very likely they would be our own graduate. Okay, for those older students, they may start from the nursing school, starting from RN, and then took a distance learning degree to get the degree, and then to enter our program. So the training may not be exactly the same. Okay. However, because from the data lake, it would be difficult for us to identify. We can identify whether they are our graduate, but we would be difficult to identify whether they study in the nursing school before. Okay, not the nursing school in NUS, the nursing school in hospital before. So they got the diploma first. Okay, yes, we can try to explore, but it would be more difficult because the information is not organized very well. Okay, so we have the information, yeah, but we need to go to individual to check. Yeah.
Is that something that shows up in the application for graduate school through the School of Nursing? Do they put their prior educational attainment there?
I cannot catch your meaning. Yeah.
So when they're applying for the APN program, do they list their prior degrees, prior educational experiences on the application?
Yes, they do, but because when I explore in the data lake, okay, such information are available, but it would be in non-standard format. Okay, for example, some simply write down NUS graduate. Some would write down, okay, from Tan Tock Seng Hospital, nursing school, something like this. Okay, so it is more a qualitative description instead of a coding. So for us, it may be difficult for us to digest it one by one. Yeah.
Could familiarity with technology be a factor that underlines the age difference in academic performance?
Yes, definitely, especially in this day and age where we are moving everything to virtual learning. We do see that the younger students have easier, they get used to the technology more quickly, while the older ones, they take a bit more time, but it's not impossible, but they just take a bit more time to get accustomed to the virtual learning platforms. Yeah. And would we consider helping older students prepare for school learning? I mean, at this point, I can say that in the 246 students, we did have pretty matured students in the MM program, and they did manage to complete it. I'm not sure how well they did, but I'm sure with time, and the program coordinator, actually the program director is actually in the talk as well as one of our audience. She and her team has been very supportive of the MM program students, because the cohort is really quite small. Every year they take in 20 to 30 students only, and with that, a lot of attention is a lot of attention is given to the students. Yeah, so no one is left behind. And also because all of them are being actually all of them are being funded by their healthcare institution, they have this huge liability and bond to bear. So no matter what, they have to successfully complete this MM program, and NUS tries their best, especially, the MM program team, they try their best to support the student until they graduate. Yeah, so regardless of age, all students are being supported in the MM program.
I'm using wait time to see if anybody pops up with another question before I jump in again. No. Okay. Well, I want to hypothetically. So Bridget, your work is more survey work, right? Like large scale with people in practice, and Wilson's got experience and facility with the data lake. Is there a way that you could see the two of you working and leveraging both of your strengths simultaneously and the data lake?
Dr.
Wilson's on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, I am answering the question in the chat box. So I was distracted. Yeah, so I am just looking at the question. Okay, for the question, whether all students enrolled in the same module. Okay, no, but for the MN program, they can only choose 1 or 2 electives out of the 10 module. Okay, so basically most of them would take the same module, except 1 or 2 elective. Yeah, so for your question, yes, it may still have some kind of bias due to the 1 to 2 module, but that's why we conduct additional analysis based on individual module to show where the age would have the effect, okay, to their module score. Yes, for Robert's comment, yes, it may be the reason. Okay, so actually we also look at the marital status, and then but for marital status, actually it does not, it did not have association in most of the module. Okay, as well as the overall CAP score. Okay, so I'm not sure whether it is really related to their family work or other things there. Yeah, it may, yeah, or it may not, but we cannot tell from the data. Okay, sorry, Kelvin. Can you repeat your question? Because I was trying to answer that question on the checkbox.
I think you have a nice segue into it. So is there a way that you could leverage Bridget's strengths with survey design and survey analysis and your statistical strength and facility with the ADL to answer a question that spans both of your strengths and leverages the ADL?
Yes, I think okay, it is a teamwork. Okay, so you can try to find some people can help you for those parts you are not that strong in. Okay, to form a team, and then it would be easier for you to conduct a project in Data Lake. Okay, of course, if you want to use the Data Lake, one of the major issue, if you are not familiar with those statistical data analysis merging table, you may need someone that can help you. But I think in your unit, Dr. Tan is here. Okay, he may be the one who can help them to achieve the task.
That's one way. I was thinking that, so there are variables that you would like to be able to analyze that aren't in the data lake. And so just my thought was that Bridget could collect those variables from people that have graduated out of the APN program and have that data added to the data lake so that you could then, and so we do offer that, as well as the researchers can collect their own data. And then we go through the process of de-identifying it and adding it as specific tables that then become available to the entire NUS research community.
Oh, yeah. So it would be additional feature for the data lake. Actually, based on your own module or own program, you may think some of the variable would be useful. So you can collect it, and then after you collect the data, you can store in the data lake, and then they would do the de-identification. And hence later on, maybe a few years later, you can, based on the data, to conduct some kind of further analysis. Yeah, it would be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of answers where Bob was coming from, is all those things that you wish you had access to, you could feasibly go back and collect them independently. Anybody have anything else?
If you don't mind, I just share one table. Yeah. Okay. So I just share this screen. Maybe you can see this work document. Okay. Can you see it? Okay. So,
I can see it.
Okay. Before, because I try to explore myself. So what I did, I try to go to each table. Okay. For example, this table is related to the program. So I try to extract all the variable names first, okay, before I really conduct or to merge the table, so that I would know more about what kind of information is available in the table. For example, this one program, personal data actually as detailed as their address, okay, but up to the postal code and so on, okay, their telephone number. Okay, so you can see actually there is a lot of information that you can extract if you think they are useful. Okay, and then for the module, they may have when they take the module, okay, what is, whether it is a 1 semester or 2 semester module and so on. Okay, so based on this kind of table, you would be able to generate some research question based on your own program. Okay, so here is just a share what kind of information you may be able to get from the data lake based on these 4 tables. But you can see that for each of the table, there may be over 1 million records. Okay, so it is, and actually it is the reason why the data are not able for you to download. Even you download, you would not be able to open it in Microsoft Excel or SPSS in most of the time. Okay. Of course, there is some privacy issue. Okay, but just to let you know, for this kind of table, okay, when you merge it, actually you can, if you have the research question, you merge the table, it can be able to form a usable data set that you can analyze in a as a normal data set that you have. Yeah. Okay, so I stop sharing now.
That reminds me of the personal story. So Wilson was sort of the pioneer for going through the entire research process with us. So every time we would try something, it was the first time that we were trying it, and part of the smile on my face is just Wilson and Bridget's perseverance through the entire process, because after he got through it, it got a lot better for everybody that came afterwards. But I'm looking at those charts or the tables of what's in the data lake, and I'm smiling because, like, yeah, originally we did have fields that were labeled like student address, and it's like that's a problem if you say that you have de-identified data. And so we've gone through and we've redone the permissioning and the viewing so that when we say it's de-identified, it is de-identified. And we've had long conversations about how do you mask postal codes because of what Wilson was bringing to our attention. So that was a good one. And so we do take feedback very seriously, and we do try to facilitate the research as well as keep to what we're promising. So thank you, Wilson and Bridget.
You're welcome.
And I should say a thank you to Win Tao as well, because she was really the one that helped kickstart a lot of this and gave us a lot of support at the very, very beginning, and continues to send me really good ideas. So thank you.
Thanks. I think it's a teamwork. Bridget and Wilson. Wilson as a statistician, he go all the way to understand all that things which we do not able to appreciate. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
And that is another part, is that you don't have to do everything by yourself. And Wilson's really made this point several times, is that you don't have to be an end-to-end researcher when working in learning and teaching and education. You pick your strengths and you build the team around you that compensate, or in this case, to synergize.
Yeah, I think definitely Kelvin just now bring out a very brilliant ideas is regarding about longitudinal study, how actually after our students graduate from the program, what they are doing now currently. Because now we say the graduation grades related to age, but whether all those young people perform well after they graduate, that is the other part we need to further understand better, which that will be fall back to Robert's question, is that actually continues after their academic learning. Yeah, so maybe we can further explore and get more data add into the current data lakes.
How would that impact the program? So if you discovered that students that used to be good at school are still good at school when they come back, versus students that weren't as academically high performing as their peers, and then when they come back, they're still not as academically high performing as their peers, does that say more about them, or does that say about your program? So there's always this theory practice divide, and Wilson and Bridget both touched on that. If the program is theory oriented, but if you go back out and you're put back into practice, it doesn't have any major benefits or measurable benefits. How do you rethink the program at that point?
So that is the part actually currently we have actually based on the actual clinical needs. That is also give us some idea for the actual clinical needs, so we can revise our curriculum and support our students to be more competent to what they are going to be doing in the future, because their role is going to be expanded. It's no more traditional nursing role. They are stepped into many other professionals territory. So there is a lot of things. I think the data will give us a lot of better idea to revise our curriculum.
It's a nice way of putting it. Is there anything else out there? No. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna share my appreciation once again for Wilson and Bridget, and you too, Wintao.
Thank you.
And thank you for spending your recess week with us. That is a big ask. And thank you for everybody that's out in the audience. Thank you for joining in with us today. And we'll process the video and get it posted for sharing and dissemination purposes as quickly as we can.